Does comedy ever become inappropriate? What is comedy, humour, or more in particular, what is appropriate comedy and humour? Is there a place where comedy can actually be damaging and it can actually crush volunteers or audience members? What is an appropriate use of comedy? Now, British humour is legendary, and there's a lot of people who would argue that British humour is somewhat the best humour in the world. And now, from my own experience, the likes of The Life of Brian, Only Fools and Horses, and someone like Tommy Cooper, the great comedy magician, I think there's a fair, strong argument that British humour is really good. But at times, British humour can be really inappropriate and crosses the line, as comedy can be in general. Now, my background, literally doing open-air street theatre and comedy magic, I've seen over the past, way over 2 decades, a lot of comedy and a lot of kind of presentations. But also during that time, the tabloids, literally using humour as a way of getting a message over. And sometimes these messages can be really subtle. And this is where I'm going with this, that sometimes the humour can actually shape the way people think. And over since my childhood, since my day of being a teen, I have seen comedy taking its own shape. That which went around in the playground back in the day is very different to what it is today. Now let me just give you a couple of examples. There's one right here that is really, it goes all the way back to 1964, and it comes straight out of the BBC archives. I'm going to get this little clip up for you just to give you a little taste of what I'm talking about. But to do this, I'm doing it the unconventional way. I'm just going to film directly off my own camera right here. But listen to this.
Southern Spain is not like Britain. Its towns don't look the same. In its village streets, the sights and sounds are different. And the Spanish are clearly not British.
Clearly not British? No, come on, seriously, clearly not British? Yes, they're Spanish.
And why is that? Well, whole volumes of books, libraries of books have been written trying to explain the Spanish character in terms of history and geography and climate and politics and the Pyrenees. But so far, not one of those experts has put his finger on the real cause of the trouble. And that's breakfast. No Spaniard ever has a really decent breakfast. It's a miserable affair. A couple of biscuits dunked in a cup of coffee. And when a nation starts its day on a couple of soggy biscuits, there's only one possible result: nibbling.
You can see from that video the naivety that it's just jam-packed. That, on the surface, one could laugh, one could giggle, but when you really listen to what this presenter is doing, it is nothing short of naive. It's insulting another nation, it's insulting another way of life, and actually it's just full of holes. The British breakfast is a heart attack meal. And literally I'm here in Spain currently, and I can tell you the food here is amazing. I've never eaten so well in my entire life. But so there you go. But this is it. It goes all the way back to 1964. But has much changed? Has much changed at all? So when I'm looking at the great British breakfast and comparing that to Brexit, I would say not much has changed at all. But in fact, comedy is often used to push through political agendas or political views and little subtleties. And we've seen that literally running up to Brexit during those 6 weeks where there was where the great British public had 6 weeks to decide their fate. And what we were experienced was a barrage of right-wing political news. The tabloids were just full of discriminating language against foreigners or refugees, and the way they described this entire episode was just totally misleading. And like in this video, that if you were to watch this, and it's like the BBC Archives 1964, towards the end, he literally goes as far to compare the Spaniards to rodents, that of mice, doing these various exercises, these that were, and he concludes it. It's mind-blowing. But literally, that's what we had in running up to Brexit, where that certain people were actually just compared to rodents. And this is mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing, when we can't actually separate comedy. What is comedy? To what that which is an insult, that which is undermining, that which is going to crush, that which is going to facilitate negative falsehoods and literally bring about divide, damage, and discourse. Now, don't get me wrong. I love comedy. I love good, rich comedy, be it comedy or British humour. One of the last closing acts that I saw before lockdown started was at the Blackpool Magic Convention. I was there last year and just before lockdown, and it was John Archer. He was the compere on stage, and I was front row watching this, and I was in stitches, crying with laughter. And every time he came on, he just got me. His whole mannerism, and everything about it was just pure British comedy at its best. So don't get me wrong. I love British comedy. I love comedy. But if we're going to really deliver good, wholesome comedy material, then we need to consider our volunteers. We need to consider our audience. We need to consider cultural differences, and we need to come from a place of respect, and we want to uplift and empower our audience. Now, to me, that's when comedy is at its best. This is Mario Morris. Thank you for checking in. Please do comment below. I will get back and respond to your comments. Any thoughts, any ideas? And please, when you're down there, do subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of videos coming out. And so, yeah, that's a great way for us to stay in touch. Speak to you all soon.